All right, everybody. Thank you very much for attending this webinar on marketing ROI, return on investment. And please let me introduce myself, Michiel van der Watering from the Netherlands. And I founded my firm, Accountable Marketing, in 2004. Management of the business schools found out that their future employees of their graduates were really looking for people who understand the concept of, well, what do you bring me with your accountability? So don't be just responsible, but also be accountable for all the funds that we gave. It's time for marketeers to stand up, become accountable, and that will be their, as they say, their golden ticket back into the boardroom or to the C-suite.
Jim Lenskold, my company Lenskold Group has been around 21 years now. How do we get the measurements, the analytics to focus on not the early stage outcomes from marketing, but taking it all the way to sales, revenue, profit, right? That's where we get the ROI. Make sure that even though we're doing the financial analysis, even though we're doing the analytics, that everything we do is part of strategy and part of decision support. So I'd rather measure something that I can apply and improve effectiveness than just look back and try to just prove out what I did. One of the biggest steps that people need to take to get there, and steps meaning not an individual, but as a group, is the mindset. It's showing that marketing matters and is relevant to the business. Again, it's still knowing what to look for and how to use it that makes the bigger difference.
You're too pessimistic about the results, and the results are overwhelming. You, on one hand, are the champion within your company as marketeers or sales representatives because you take in a lot of customers. But probably some people in operations will not like you very much because they get an overload of customers, which they didn't expect.
Finance defines marketing ROI as net profit over the investment, right? And so you could break the net profit down into what's the profit we earn from our incremental sales. And so that would be called gross margin. It's kind of the, but it is profits, not revenue. We subtract out the marketing investment, we divide it by the marketing investment. So it gives us a ratio.
I think even people in sales are very keen on getting the accountability of marketing working within the company, because that will enable them to show what they're doing with the sales budget together with the marketing budget.
And of course, we always ask, what would we do better, right? So that's in a simplified view, it's this idea of the return relative to that spend. When we generate those sales, we're actually generating more than just the short-term sales. And even if we count, value of customer over time from a revenue stream, there is this customer equity, right? As we build the customer base, that has value.
And talking about customer equity and marketing assets, I have read an interesting quote on the Miles B website. And it says like all kind of departments in a company can buy value, and only marketing can create value for a company. It's a very important word, which is just in front of sales, and it says profitable sales. And maybe we should be happy with less leads and less conversion, but a higher profitability of sales and the customers we take in.
And this one kind of connects it all together and really says that there's three metrics that drive ROI. One is that volume, how many did we get to buy? The second one's the value, how much are they worth? And then the third one's kind of the expense, what's the investment that comes into that? Where you have to convince management that, look, fewer sales of higher value is actually a better financial decision, for financial outcome.
They can build their pre-ROI analysis, meaning that they know, okay, we're about to bring in so much customers, and we work together with finance to tell us how much from the revenue will be profit. And afterwards, they got the real figures, because then they really know how much customers came in, which they bought, how much profit we have there. And then you compare those two and make sure for the next time that they're closer together than the previous campaign that you've done. So pre-post analysis may be one of the most important parts of this work. You have to have a sponsor high up in the organization, because if we're looking at the short term, we don't want to invest in market testing and we don't want to invest in modeling. We just need more campaigns to get more customers in. That's a short-term vision. But if you're looking for the longer term, you would like to get better customers in, have a higher conversion rate, and then you absolutely need market testing and modeling. And for the segmentation analysis, I think it's quite important as well to do a non-response analysis. Sometimes that's forgotten, just looking at the response. But it's also interesting to find out why people didn't respond. and maybe you shouldn't have targeted them in the first way.
This is kind of the pieces marketing is responsible for, right? We either get objectives from the business, or we set objectives, we build the strategy, get into that tactical plan, then we have to execute. We have to make an impact in the marketplace. What I say when you say, how do I get started? Well, we can improve measurements. We can start running ROI scenarios. You can take a piece of the process, or you could say, hey, let's do this for one part of our marketing.
First, before your campaign runs, you really have to be on the same page with sales and finance to make sure that everybody understands the way the measurements are getting into.
Now, you don't throw away a campaign that's almost working, you fix it. And so that's part of that process that you want to happen as well.
Tom Peters said once, I think it was like reward excellent failures and punish mediocre successes. And that's what I like about marketeers that come to me and explain to me why their campaign didn't work, instead of a marketeer that came to me and said, yeah, I had some success, and said, how come? I don't have a clue.
How do we demonstrate the value of marketing? Well, I think by having certain measurements, in other words, probably the key point is, don't think we have to measure everything to build that confidence. Modeling, I think we build a lot of confidence with modeling because it takes into account all these different touch points, and it kind of says, all right, every time we increase this type of media, this type of touch point, we did see sales increase, so we have a good confidence that that's contributing.
And the C-suite keeps on telling that marketing is crucial for the strategy of a company. But on the other hand, it's hard for marketing to prove and deliver what their contribution is to the bottom line. So on one side, it's really important that marketing is there, and on the other hand, it's very hard for marketing to prove what their added value is.
A small business that has a handful of customers, it'll be very difficult to figure out the marketing influence on those customers. But the same thing, the one example I used to use in my workshop was if you were selling space shuttles and you had a 10-year sales cycle and you sold 5 space shuttles, you're not going to know what part of marketing and if that golf event and all these things mattered, because there's not your margin of error gets too high with low volume. So it's not a big or small company. It's a volume of so that you could get enough volume to have a good indicator.
So can you explain a little bit what your experiences are on the return on investment in marketing?
What's interesting is it takes a very small increase in effectiveness to pay back the measurements. Typically, if I had $1 million budget and I decided to dedicate 10% of it, $100,000 into that measurement, I would need at least a 10% increase in effectiveness. When we look at that buyer's journey, we always report on progress because that's what we've accomplished. But we analyze and focus on leakage because that's our opportunity, right? And if we look at for leakage points late in that buyer's journey, those are the people we focus on, and we say, how do I get a few more of them to successfully complete their journey to the revenue? And that's the idea that says, put your measurement where you can get the payback.
So Jim, really thank you very much for joining me on this webinar, and we'll speak soon to this very important subject. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I'm going to thank you for putting out a book that needed to be written, especially today. People can't lose focus on this marketing accountability. It's a great book, and I thank you very much for putting it out there and including me in on this webinar series you're doing.
Okay, thank you. Bye for now.